Hi, my name is Awilda Jimenez. I'm a virtual content specialist teacher from PS386 in the Bronx. I've created this teacher-facing video in partnership with Maria Friedland from the Division of Multilingual Learners. Our goal is to create content for our multilingual learners and English language learners to be used during remote and blended instruction. The teacher-facing video will be focusing on the introduction portion of the grade 4 unit 3 day 14 lesson entitled The Boston Massacre. If you are using the Passport of Social Studies Workbook, the pages are from page 149 to page 153. The focus question is what events led to the war with Great Britain, and our lesson objective is to explore primary source images and texts in order to analyze the impact of how a pivotal event in U.S. history was reported at the time. The scaffolds that I am focusing on for this part of the lesson are to build background knowledge and increase access to grade level content. One thing that's really beneficial for our multilingual learners and English language learners is if they have some of the images, videos that you're going to see a day before, so that they have extended time listening to the sources, analyzing the images, and they can come to class prepared with something to contribute during class discussions. Some big ideas and understandings are that students should be able to evaluate the trustworthiness of a source, and that trustworthiness of a source can be impacted by whether it's a primary source or a secondary source, whose point of view is being shared in the source that impacts trustworthiness, what impact does point of view have on us as the reader. No source tells the whole story, and therefore it's important to read multiple sources to get the entire story. And that's going to be true for the Boston Massacre, right? Depending on whether you are a colonist, a British soldier, or you're just a person that lives in that particular neighborhood, your account of what happened during this event, there's going to be some similarities and there's going to be some differences. So that's really important for students to understand. Another tool that's really useful, please remember that the student workbooks are available in different languages. So it would be beneficial for students to have the resource not only in English, but in their native language as well. Okay, some vocabulary. Some of this vocabulary aligns with the work students are doing in ELA in reading and writing. Primary, secondary sources, point of view, those are grade 4 and grade 5 standards. It can also be introduced in grade 3, especially in social studies. So students may have familiarity with some of these words. Definitely point of view from our previous session. If not, you could collaborate with the teachers in that department, or if you yourself, teach all the subjects, you could think about helping students build an understanding of this vocabulary, not just in social studies, but in your reading and writing units. There are several ways that students can build this understanding of primary sources, point of view, and trustworthiness. More importantly, trustworthiness, and who's telling the story or who's telling the narrative. There are 2 quotes that are pretty popular. There are 3 sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth, as well as don't believe everything you hear. Now, you could show this clip to help build this understanding. It's a clip from Toy Story. A lot of students are already familiar with Toy Story. In this scene, it's about 2.5 minutes. Woody's feeling jealous because Buzz Lightyear is the new toy, and he's really popular with all the other toys. And Andy, his owner, is really, he loves Buzz Lightyear and is giving him a lot more attention than Woody. So Woody plays a prank on Buzz. Unfortunately, the prank goes wrong and Buzz ends up falling out of the window and getting hurt. And some of the toys actually witnessed Buzz falling out of the window. So when they gather to listen to what happened, Woody has one version of the story. The toys have a different version, and Buzz definitely has a different version of what happened. And it all their versions are influenced on what they know about the relationship between Buzz and Woody, as well as, Woody's own feelings, insecure feelings. So that's one way. You could also give the example of if a lot of students in your class have siblings, older or younger, and they get into an argument or a fight, they're into it, and then an older adult comes in to break up the fight. When everybody's discussing what happened, there's the version between the two people that were actually in the argument or the fight, and then there's the version of the person that came in, the older person who came in to break up the argument or the fight. There's similarities between all stories, but there's also different versions, especially if you feel like you were the victim or you were wronged in some way. And finally, if we're thinking about making connections with current events, you can illustrate this concept by reviewing some of the political cartoons or newspaper clippings from our past presidential election, right? So here we have Trump, who was the president, and he really wanted to be the president for another term, right? The election results came in, and it says Trump protests vote recount, claims he should have won the popular vote. Biden sees path to 270. Trump attacks election integrity. I won big, you lost. Biden beats Trump, right? So if students, because this was in the news for a very long time, students might be aware of the different versions of this event. So those are 3 ways that you could help students understand this idea of sources, trustworthiness, point of view, and how all those things work together to send a reader a message. Finally, it would be beneficial to give students a KWL chart, right? It's a form of assessment. What I know, students can fill this out a day before the lesson, especially for our multilingual learners and English language learners who are going to have the resources a day before. They could jot down 2 to 4 things that they already know when it comes to events between the British soldiers and the colonists. What I know from previous lessons, what I know is happening, what I want to know, and what I learned. They could also add information from the what I know and what I learned, what I want to know, as they listen to the introduction and watch this clip. This clip is an animated graphic novel of the Boston Massacre. It's about 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. It's from the American Battlefield Trust. Students can listen to this and jot down what they know and what they want to know on the KWL chart. You could also mute the volume and have them, similar to a picture walk, just watch the illustrations play out and focus on the different characters and their expressions and their actions. And finally, this source is from the independent practice portion. It's called The Bloody Massacre, and this illustration was created by Paul Revere, a member of the Sons of Liberty. So already students should know, we know who the Sons of Liberty are from our previous lesson. How does knowing who they are impact my understanding of this illustration and what this illustration is telling me as the reader? So those are some ways that we can help students build background knowledge on these events.